Hello, Star Wars fans! Today is going to be my breakdown and review for Bad Batch Season 3, Episodes 1 through 3, which I'm pretty much calling the beginning of the end. I mean, obviously, this is the final season of the Bad Batch, but also I suspect it may be the end for some of the characters that we've come to know and love. In fact, let me know in the comments, who do you think will survive this season, and who do you think is not going to make it? Now, clearly, there will be spoilers in this breakdown, but as long as you're okay with that, then let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Don't forget, we have the February contest running all month long. Be a subscriber, leave a comment. You might win a book or a steel book. Best of luck. Also, there's the membership option in case you want to help me with my goal of doing this full-time one day. You get all kinds of cool perks like custom emojis, behind-the-scenes videos, etc. But honestly, no matter how you support the channel, it's all greatly appreciated. Leaving comments, liking videos, subscribing, it all goes a long way. So thank you so much. So I'm going to start with episode number 2, because 1 and 3 are tied together so well, and episode 2 is kind of separate, but it's happening simultaneously, obviously. So I'm going to talk about it first, and in particular, Hunter and Wrecker are desperate to find Omega after she was taken at the end of last season, so desperate, in fact, that they grab this Pike dude, who we might remember from Season 1, who had cut off the horn of Roland Durand. So they're able to actually go to Roland and his mom, Issa, to get information that might help them find Omega. But what I love about this is it ties back to this Season 1 episode where the Pikes had, well, cut off his horn. So I'll admit, sometimes these side missions, they're fun. They're always good episodes, but it feels like it's kind of treading water because they don't want to move the season along too fast. Well, it turns out some of these side missions really matter, because if not for this, then they wouldn't have got the information to try to, find Omega. Love it. So where they end up is on this planet with a really awesome battle and fight with this giant creature. I love some of the visuals on the Bad Batch. Isn't that cool? Them just dangling over it as it's trying to eat them. I love this shot. You can see them hanging down there as the creature is reaching up and grabbed its tentacles around the ship. And there it is with its mouth open, ready to consume them. But instead, all it ends up consuming are a bunch of bombs, which they use to pretty much blow it up. So, love it, love it. All right, I am going to come back to this episode with a few more interesting things that we learn actually in episode 3, but not much more to say here. It was a really good episode, but 1 and 3 are where most of the action that I want to talk about is. So, speaking of, episode 1, we see that Omega is hidden away on Mount Tantus, so very cool. She is clearly a prisoner, wanting to get out, wanting to get away, and unfortunately is not able to. So we learn why she's there, because they are experimenting on clone blood, including hers, right? They're taking everybody's blood well, we'll find out exactly why they're doing it, right? So I think this is interesting, though. They set Omega's blood aside, over in the corner. Now, maybe that's because it's a kid, maybe because she's kind of special, I don't know, but we're going to see that her blood actually is special, but they didn't know that at this point. So I'm kind of curious if you have any thoughts on why they were already setting hers in a separate location there with the other vials. But anyway, they're testing all the clone blood. On the way there, Omega is delivering the blood. We see our friendly little mouse droid. You notice him down in the lower right-hand corner there. To me, though, they're not mouse droids. They're rat droids. I mean, those things are so annoying. And I love in episode 3 when Omega punts one out of the elevator. They're the worst. They're the worst. They should definitely be called rat droids. Anyway, where Omega is taking the vials of blood is heavily guarded, obviously. I mean, you got 2 guards at the door that you got to pass by. And then you get body scanned, I guess, for weapons, etc. Craziness, right? They are very, very wanting to keep this stuff secure. So when she gets in, we do get a hint up front that Omega's blood might be the key to the experimentation, because there's Namaste, and when Namaste realizes that they've actually scanned Omega's blood, or taken some of Omega's blood, Namaste is very worried and immediately disposes of the blood. And considering that this happens many, many days, we're going to see how many days in a moment, that means every single day that they took Omega's blood, it was also disposed of. Until the last day, which we'll see. All right, so then we learn more of this master plan, right? Omega's asking, why did they bring me here? And Namaste says, to ensure that I cooperate. Yes, but cooperate with what? That's what we want to know. Then we learn the Empire seeks the reproduction of a genetic M count. But the experiments on the specimens, that's key. that word is key, keep that in mind, have yet to yield the desired result. So I naturally assumed specimens. Oh, that's the clones, right? Nope. Namaste helps, says, nope, not the clones. So you're like, okay, what are these specimens? So we'll talk more about that, but I'm really curious what your thoughts on what exactly these specimens are. But okay, I do love this machine that just spins around as it dispenses the blood and tests it one at a time, because it kind of becomes a ticking time bomb, like especially in that last episode, episode 3, where they do finally get some of her blood in this as it spins around one at a time as she's trying to escape. So just in general, I loved the pacing of episode 1 and 3. So well done. Almost like a Mission Impossible episode a little bit. So very cool. All right, so then we enter another very heavily guarded facility. Look at all the guards. I mean, just standing there. What a crummy job that would be, right? Just to stand there all day. But anyway, standing guard, and then you got these laser beams you got to go through to get in. My word. So the first time we see this facility, they don't let us see what's inside. Instead, we see them coming back out. But Namaste gives some good news. The Emperor should be pleased. We accomplished a successful transfer. But Hemlock isn't happy because he says the M count was severely diminished in the process. So you have to wonder, do they realize this is for the Emperor? I mean, literally for the Emperor, not like the Emperor is asking it to be done, like that this is to make clones of the Emperor? And if they realize that, do they also realize that means he's force sensitive? You just wonder how much Hemlock is aware. Namaste seems to be aware of everything going on. But how much does Hemlock actually know? It's just an interesting question. But anyway, he says if we do not match or exceed the specimens, here we are with the specimens again, original count, it is a failure. Okay, so this tells us a little bit more about the specimens. Clearly the specimens have an M count, so to some degree. So are the specimens younglings? Is that what they are? Are they Jedi that they didn't kill? I don't know. What are we talking about here? But I would think they have to have an M count or they can't do this experiment. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm kind of feeling like they're younglings, which is really cruel if so. Or maybe Jedi they've captured. But okay, then the Emperor arrives. You always love it whenever he shows up. Got his bodyguards, epic. You got to have everybody out, right? Display of force. So he sees his army. So then, this is interesting. This conversation is just kind of a quick little conversation, but there's a lot to unpack here. So Hemlock says the exotic matter facilities, keep that in mind, the exotic matter facilities have expanded, providing alteration and testing of much larger assets. So exotic, that makes me think creatures, right? And now much larger assets. So going back to episode 2, remember the vines that were attacking them and then finally that creature at the end? Well, Wrecker asks, what was that stuff? And the kids say the Empire made it. It's some kind of experimental weapon until they lost control of it. So is that part of this exotic material testing they're doing on larger specimens? So very interesting. Is this creating a creature that we're going to see in the Bad Batch season? Is it creating a creature we're going to see maybe way down the road in the Mandalorian? It just sets an interesting plot point in motion that I hope they do pay off in Bad Batch. Then also, speaking of these kids, and ties back to season 1, are these the same kids that we saw being taken off a Camino right before it was destroyed, basically? I mean, they're all clones, so who knows? But that'd be kind of cool. One more tie back to season 1 again. So love it. All right, so then we get the huge tie to The Mandalorian, particularly season 3, but really all the seasons. And they refer to Project Necromancer. That's what Palpatine's here to see. I mean, the exotic stuff with the creatures, he's fine with that. That's great. I'm glad it's working. I want to know about Project Necromancer. So, of course, we heard about Necromancer in Mandalorian Season 3 because Hux was working on it. He needs more time to deliver on Project Necromancer. And, of course, this Hux ends up being the father of the Hux that is in the sequel trilogy. So that's kind of cool. But this is interesting. If they're still working on Project Necromancer during the time frame of The Mandalorian, which is about 30 years down the road, does that mean it failed during the Bad Batch? Or does that mean they just think it failed? It's very interesting because what's being implied is they could have actually had Project Necromancer up and running while Palpatine was alive. But it seems that now they're still working on it years after his death. So let me know your thoughts on that. But I just thought that was interesting. Maybe that means Omega will survive, because I was kind of worried she wasn't going to make it. But anyway, also in The Mandalorian, remember, there's the whole Shadow Council. That was pretty cool. And the Grand Admiral Thrawn, they were really concerned about his return. And so we kind of had two different divisions within the Shadow Council. Some were worried about Project Necromancer and trying to keep that going, while others were, really focused on Thrawn coming back. So that's kind of the two big plots that we've been seeing going on, the cloning and Thrawn. So very cool. All right, so back to Bad Batch. They walk in this room, and what on earth is in the big containers? I mean, the small containers are probably like smaller specimens, maybe the younglings or other Jedi they've captured or whatever. The big ones, though, my word, what is going on there? So here they walk in even closer. I love all the patterns on the ground. That's really cool. And then here they say it. The specimens are well guarded to ensure they remain viable for testing. So they really teased us, right? They're opening it up, and you're like, okay, we're going to see what this is. Nope, we're not. They're not going to show it to us. But I did really feel there were a lot of ties to what we saw Moff Gideon working on in Mandalorian. Because first of all, Moff Gideon's lair, he had to walk through all of these, laser walls, and he had tons of guards. Doesn't that look really similar to what we saw in Bad Batch there on the left? That's kind of wild. And then, of course, once he got in there, we see what he's working on, which they were clones of himself. He wasn't cloning Palpatine. He was cloning himself. So really, it seems like Necromancer in concept was moving along, but that they hadn't really gotten to the point of cloning Palpatine yet. And then, of course, Gideon also even had the guards. So very similar to Hemlock and his lair. We see so much that Moff Gideon was doing as well. So kind of wild. All right. Then the Emperor is clearly laser focused on this initiative, because Hemlock says, I'm confident that we will have a successful M-count replication. And Palpatine's like, there is nothing of greater importance to secure the future of this empire, which is funny because he's really saying his own future. He doesn't care about the empire. He cares about himself. But yeah, this is the most important thing to him. Whatever is needed to accomplish this goal, you will have it. And that is an ominous way to set up this season, because, up to this point, the Bad Batch have been running around and a couple people have been chasing them here and there, but the threats haven't been huge. Now the entire empire is going to be after them, because as we're going to see, I think we're going to see a reunion with Omega and the Bad Batch, and we're going to have the whole empire, including Palpatine himself, chasing them down. Not going to end well. Not going to end well. So it's also clear that they are putting the somehow in the meme, right? Somehow Palpatine returned. All of this is building up to how on earth Palpatine returned in the last episode of that sequel trilogy. Now, I'll be the first to admit I didn't really like the sequel trilogy that well. Maybe the first movie, but regardless, it's canon, right? We're not going to escape the fact that this is canon. So I kind of appreciate that they're putting the somehow in Somehow Palpatine Returned, telling us how it all came about. And it'll be interesting. Maybe down the road, the sequel trilogy will be respected a lot more than it is today when we see how everything ties together. But I think also they're going to be explaining where we got Snoke. Somehow Snoke returned. Where did he come from? Maybe he's some of the failed experiments. I don't know. I really hope they give us some hints. Now, I don't think we're going to see Snoke appear, because we are way early. I mean, we're a good 60 years away, maybe 50 years away from when we will actually see Snoke arrive. But still, you wonder if we're going to get some hints. So, very cool. All right, so back to Bad Batch again. Palpatine says it's imperative that this facility remain hidden and secure. There are many, even in our own ranks, who would consider much of your work an abomination. So yeah, not everyone seems pleased with this, of what's going on. So who do you think he's referring to? Is it Grand Moff Tarkin? Is it Darth Vader? I would think Vader wouldn't care, although everybody was out for themselves. Is it Thrawn? Will we actually see Thrawn appear? Because Thrawn at some point does get involved with the Empire around this time frame. So okay, what's the deal? Who do you think it is? Who is not pleased, and will they end up being a threat to what Palpatine is doing? Will we actually see this pay off in this season? I think we will. So that's very cool. And then I love this. Hemlock is clearly the through line to Pershing, who we see in The Mandalorian, some 30 years later. Because he says, if I'm appointed the scientific minister, I would strive to bring unleashed glory to all divisions of the Imperial Science Corps. So, I think it's kind of cool that here we are in 19 to 18 BBY, and then in 9 ABY, we see the Science Corps. And look at that. I mean, the outfits are exactly the same. So you would think something Hemlock is going to do is going to rise them to prominence. It's really going to get this division going to the point where they're still around even after the original trilogy is completed. So I love this. The fact that they're tying everything together so well is only Filoni could pull this off. So beautiful, beautiful. All right. Then finally at the end, they realize Omega is the answer. Omega is the key to solving this issue because they say the clone's sample supported a positive M count transfer with no degradation from the specimen. And then no surprise, that clone is Omega. So that's why I say now the entire Empire is going to be after Omega because she is the key to Project Necromancer and Palpatine's wishes. Yikes. Now, luckily, Namaste was aware of that, which is interesting. Why did Namaste know? They haven't really told us that yet, so I hope that we learn that. Why did Namaste know to warn? But Namaste is saying, if Emery tests your sample, you will be in danger. So Namaste makes sure that Omega escapes, gets away, which she does, and I didn't really go into all that side of the plot because it was interesting and fun, but not as interesting to me as this bigger plot of the M count and necromancy. But anyway, she also grabs Crosshair, so that's cool. So we're going to see a reunion with Crosshair, Hunter, and Wrecker, and Echo, about time. And they're just about to get blasted out of the sky when Hemlock realizes what we just saw, which is, no, Omega's the key. You can't shoot this thing down. So sure enough, they get away. Clone Commando says they've jumped. But Hemlock menacingly says, well, I have the full resources of the Empire at my disposal. We will find her. Wow. I will give them credit. These 3 episodes did a fantastic job of setting up the tension and the plot for the rest of this season. I'm thoroughly invested after just those 3 episodes. I hope you are too. They were awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the timeline. You know I love the timeline. So in a Screen Rant article, they asked Jennifer Corbett for her thoughts on it, and she said, we're still in the early years of the Empire. Time has passed between Season 2 and the beginning of Season 3, speaking to the fact that where Omega is being held is a secret facility and finding it is no easy task. She's been there. We were still in the early years of the Empire, though, yet they're still a very formidable opponent. So that's helpful. That really frames this early years of the Empire, but where? We want more, right? We're fans. We want more details. Well, there are a few timeline clues that are general in nature. Hunter says Omega's been waiting for us for a long time, Wrecker. Of course, for a kid, 5 minutes is a long time, but I think he means longer than 5 minutes, obviously. But how long? Years? Months? That didn't really tell us much. Also, when they're talking about clones and who has good M counts, Hemlock says CT-9904, which is Crosshair, was ruled out long ago as being viable. So once again, we get this long ago. And of course, Crosshair's been a prisoner with them for a while, but that doesn't help. Well, the biggest hint is these markings that Omega puts on the wall for each day that she's there. So I'm going to give credit to Echo on Twitter because I think Echo was the first to notice this, that I saw at least. It's been in some other videos and rumors out on the internet of, hey, we found it. But Echo seems to be the first that I saw mentioning it. So nice work, Echo. Says Omega has spent 164 days or 5.4 months in the Wayland facility on Mount Tantus, according to the tally marks in her room in the Bad Batch season opener. Therefore, it's been nearly half a year since the finale of season 2, which was set in 18 BBY. So, okay, we definitely know about half a year since that. So if we look at the overall timeline that I've been trying to follow and put together here, notice for Bad Batch, I've got 19 to 18 BBY. I'm going to go ahead and move that to 17 because to me, if it was an 18 BBY at the end of season 2, 6 months, I'm just going to put it for now in 17 BBY. Let me know what you think. But yeah, that's really cool how they're helping us along with the timeline. Boy, though, I wish they would help us over here, though. Mandalorian and Ahsoka. We know Ahsoka is after Mandalorian season 3, but they don't give us any indication of how much time has transpired during those first 3 seasons of Mandalorian. So I'm tempted to just put 11, 9 to 11 ABY. They're kind of skittish about moving the timeline along too far, but look, we have 20 plus years before we get to the sequel trilogy. Give us the answer. So if I've missed it and somebody is aware of a definitive answer for when Mandalorian Season 3 and Ahsoka happen, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to keep it question mark for now. Okay, here is the season, right? Looks very exciting, all the way up to May 1st. We got the 3 up front, but we're going to get an episode a week after. Well, a couple. Actually, they're saying, that's interesting, 313. I did not notice that till now, that Infiltration and Extraction, we're going to get 2 episodes then. Likewise, Identity Crisis and Point of No Return. Okay, we got a couple treats coming. Anyway, that's the schedule. Looks really cool. Cannot wait. This season looks fantastic. So don't forget, be a subscriber, leave a comment. You might win a book or a steel book. And of course, we have the membership option in case you're interested in that. We also have the Discord. Discord is so much fun. We'd love to have you join us there. We do watches, comic book club, MMORPG, retrospectives, server awards. We got an iceberg for the server because it's been around for a year now with 1,200 plus members on it. If you went to go see Madam Web in the theaters, you can get a special role. So there you go. And then we talk a ton about Star Wars, DC, and Marvel, but we also have other media forums that can be created on the fly to talk about anything you want. So I will leave a pinned comment in case you want to join the Discord server. Love to have you join us. There's people from around the globe, so there's always somebody online. It's awesome. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we will all eagerly await the next episode of Bad Batch.